Welcome to the June 6, 2016 planning meeting of the Pine-Richland School Board. We'll begin with a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Ms. Williams.
Dr. Banyas.
Here.
Mr. DiTullio. Mr. Sundo.
Here.
Mr. Kashani.
Here.
Ms. Dawson. Ms. Goebel. Here. Ms. Johnston.
Here.
Mr. Lyons. Mr. Stegman. Thank you.
Brief President's statement. Prior to this meeting, we had an executive session to discuss personnel items. The second part of the statement is that on our agenda tonight, we do not have on the agenda any action items planned for the transgender privacy issue, and I have asked the board members to submit any potential action items, and none has done so. So I do not expect that we will be taking any votes on the transgender privacy issue tonight. That has been transferred for the most part to staff services, and there's a meeting next Monday at 6 o'clock, right?
That is correct.
For them, at which time we'll be taking questions after the meeting. Thank you. Item 1.03, recognition to visitors.
Correspondence.
Oh, correspondence. Oh, my bad. 1.02, correspondence. Ms. Williams.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The board received the following correspondence from the Wexford Elementary Parent-Teacher Organization regarding dedicated books to Wexford Elementary's library on the board's behalf. From Mr. Eric King regarding unsolicited emails received. And from the following community members regarding restrooms, locker rooms, and shower use practices: Ms. Jennifer Neal, Ms. Carol Loisel, Ms. Renee Hoy, Ms. Kelly Dowiak, and Mr. Eric Beatty-Kiefer. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, item 1.03, recognition of visitors. Anyone who wishes to approach the board, please do so. Try to keep your comments to 3 minutes. Just give us your name and where you're from.
My name is Scott Gagliardi. I'm from Meridian Road. This is actually on, I saw suicide prevention was coming up later. One thing I was going to suggest was, I heard repeatedly and read repeatedly that oftentimes these suicide attempts are preceded by a drop in grades, and because the kids aren't focused. If there's some kind of database that the school has that you monitor the kids' grades on, and you would set some kind of a sort of a threshold that if you were able to see a kid's grades suddenly tail off, you'd want obviously the teachers getting the reports in a timely manner, and you could perhaps come up with some kind of a threshold where this is out of the norm and this could be a warning sign and something that we want to look at. And then if you find out the kid's an at-risk kid with other factors, it might be a way to be a little more proactive.
Thank you, Mr. Gagliardi. Does anybody else wish to approach the board? Thank you. Item 1.04, minutes for approval, recommended action, motion to approve the May meeting minutes as attached.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 2.01, personnel, recommended action, motion to approve the personnel items as attached. Since we have only 5 board members present, this requires a 5-person vote to pass. This must be unanimous, otherwise we'll have to re-vote. Did I have a second?
Second.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. This is also a personnel item. Item 2.02, extended school year staff. Recommended action, motion to approve the 2016 extended school year staff as attached.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Item 2.03, 2016 Homestead Farmstead Exclusion. Recommended action, motion to approve the 2016 Homestead and Farmstead Exclusion Resolution as attached.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 2.04, final general fund budget for 2016-17. Recommended action. Motion to approve the general fund budget the 2016-17 school year with total expenditures of $80,194,586 and total revenues of $80,032,341 with an assigned fund balance utilization of $162,245 for capital improvements, and to establish the following tax rates for the fiscal year 2016-17. Number 1, real estate tax rate of 19.2083 mils. 2, earned income tax of 0.5%. 3, Act 511 per capita tax of $5 for individuals aged 18 and older. 4, Pennsylvania School Code per capita of $5 for individuals 18 and older.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that for the public watching that all tax rates remain the same, so there is no tax increase for the coming 2016-2017 school year.
I also wanted to point out that a recent survey of school boards across the state showed that 85% of those surveyed were raising taxes, and 46% of them, I think, or something like that, were actually having to cut staff. So we are fortunate that we did not have to do either of those things as we plow through our budget.
I'd also like to thank Dana and the senior leadership team for their work on this year's budget.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 3.01, strategic plan update. And to whom do I?
Rachel.
Ms. Hathorn, please.
Thank you. In our pursuit to provide updates on the strategic plan, as promised, as one of our main goals, we just wanted to update you on the website and the strategic plan. As you know, there's several pages to the site and broken down by category and long-term goals and short-term goals for each category. And what we wanted to share with you tonight is that each section has its own gauge to let you know where everything stands in respect to each category. And as you can see, the gauges have been updated, and the senior leadership team went through each section to make sure it was updated for your reading pleasure. So we're all up to date.
Thank you. Any questions from Ms. Hathorn? Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Hathorn. Item 3.02, scheduled board retreat. This is a information item. The administration is suggesting a board retreat on July 11, 2016 from 4:30 until 7:15 p.m. prior to the combined July board meeting.
We don't have a lot of the board here this evening, but our hope was that we would have it on the night of the combined meeting, just to take advantage of schedules, calendars, et cetera. I don't know if 4:30 will cause a concern with any getting out of work or being able to be here at that time, but we thought that would be a nice amount of time to sort of set the stage for next year.
I will be here that day, and I would be able to make 4:30.
4:30 is early. I'll have to see what I can do with my schedule. I will make every attempt if that works for the rest of the board. So-
Same here.
So
Okay.
we'll probably revisit that one at the next meeting
I'll put it in my update. Yeah.
when the rest of the board is here.
Okay.
Finance, Mr. Sundo.
For the voting meeting on June the 20th, we'll be approving the monthly financial reports and accounts payable. We'll also be approving the budget transfers. Item 4.03 and 4.04, Dana, do you want to talk briefly on those?
Sure. We do have,
Bless you.
Oh, God bless you. We do have some sewing machines that we are in the process of looking for a buyer for. We have been in the process of replacing the sewing machines at the middle school, primarily due to age and repair. Most of the machines that we have, that when they need a repair, the parts are unavailable. Our teacher at the middle school, Ms. Furzak, she has been working with Seneca Valley School District, and they do have a club that's interested in purchasing those. For item 4.04 for the paper bid, this is our annual approval of the AIU bid process. We tend to use their bid process because they are able to gather up kind of the economies of scale for the Allegheny County schools and get the best price on copy paper. And 4.05 is the second reading of the revised debt management policy that includes the additional language for the Dodd-Frank regulations.
Thanks, Dana.
You're welcome.
And that would be it for finance.
Academic achievement. I guess,
I can take it if you want.
well, I can, yeah, go ahead. I'll let you do it.
Okay, the first is a model for teaching and learning. So this is a significant initiative, and for tonight, Dr. Pasquinelli is just going to give a little bit of time to what is, as you can see, 45 slides. We're not going to work through that content. We're just going to emphasize the high-level picture. We also then will go right to Dr. Davis, who can talk a little bit about suicide awareness, prevention, response in terms of a student approach. Actually, why don't you do the first and the third? Why don't you do this one and then hit the financial literacy, and then
Okay.
we'll go to Dr. D.
Okay, we will omit 44 of the 45 slides this evening and just really focus on this because this is really the big idea. You've seen the picture before around curriculum instruction and assessment. This board is very much aware that the last 2.5 years have been heavy focus on curriculum. This year, the primary focus has been on implementation of that written curriculum. So now in our strategic plan, moving into the next year, is really the implementation of some design model around effective instructional strategies and those assessments, both unit-based assessments and standardized assessments, to really have a clear understanding of the best and effective practices around using assessments both to guide curriculum development and build better instructional strategies. So on June 3rd, we had the majority of our staff engaged in this conversation around all three of these aspects. Again, we shifted most of our attention to instruction and assessment to set us up for the strategic work that's going into the next couple of school years. We've had really 3 different committees working over the course of this year to prepare for this. The one was on instructional strategies, and then we took assessments and split them up. One is the unit-based, those assessments that that are within the course, and then the standardized assessments groups focused on those standard assessments that are given really across grades K through 12, and some of them are even like SAT and AP type assessments. So that presentation was delivered by administrators, central office administrators, and teachers that were part of those committees. And again, we have a nice representation of teachers from all 6 schools that are part of those committees on teaching instructional strategies and the assessments, and they co-facilitated, which was really nice. So as we go into next year, the implementation around the instructional strategies focus is, again, finding those most effective techniques, practicing them, supporting each other, and then implementing that over the course of the next 2 to 3 years. The assessment part of it is, again, focusing on common assessments that we can use to guide somewhat instructional strategies and some of the curriculum, but again, focusing on quality assessments where we're looking at the depth of student understanding that's necessary for kids to be successful. So we're basically right now assessing our assessments to say, Are we asking questions that are very low level, recall type questions, or are they more a deeper depth of understanding, which we call like a level 4 type question? As we really build that and understand that, and again, same concept, replicate that across multiple classrooms, the picture here says we get all 3 of those pieces working well, then most likely you see students both achieving and growing, and that's kind of the whole concept. So we had a real nice positive professional development on Friday, transitioning us into instruction and assessment, leading us into the next school year.
Thank you, Dr. Pasquinelli.
Okay, thank you. And the third item here, just to talk briefly, we've shared this resource in terms of with the board to get in and see some of the modules. But we've talked with the company EverFi, which is an educational software development company, and they have partnered with Mars National Bank and have come to us with an opportunity to provide our students with some free financial literacy learning modules that we're excited about providing to our students. And looking at those modules and talking to some of our department chairs, we feel pretty confident that these are nice learning modules for our seniors as they get ready to transition out of K-12 and into either college or career. I don't know if it's listed here, but just quickly, there's 9 modules that they range from savings, bankings, payment types, credit scores, financing higher education, renting versus owning. So a lot of real world type learning modules for these kids. What we're talking about now is where could this fit within our curriculum. We see it as perhaps an opportunity late in the school year, perhaps after AP tests are completed. Each module takes about 40 to 45 minutes to complete. They are highly interactive and engaging for students. We've had some students try them out and give us some positive feedback as well. It is a free opportunity and it is voluntary, so again, students would not be forced into anything like that or really heavily tied into any type of grade. It's more about that learning opportunity as they transition out of the K-12 experience. So Mars National Bank has come forward to say they're willing to support this for a minimum of 3 years. So that'll give us time to work with kids and get feedback from students and then make some recommendations for moving forward. We have an account available for you guys if you'd like to get in there and see a little bit of the different modules, and feel free to send me any feedback if you haven't.
Yeah, I have taken a look at a couple of the modules.
Yeah, what'd you think?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, just looking at the topics on the ones I haven't gone through, I do think it's something that's sorely needed, and it is a gap in kids' education coming out of high school. I was especially intrigued, though, on the one about teaching them about the FAFSA form, because that's something that parents typically do,
Yeah.
and they struggle with it, and they come to me to help them. Right. So, and I thought, wow, first I thought, wow, kids really aren't doing that for them. Parents are.
Right.
But, not this school district, but I've had clients in other school districts that, the parents just weren't capable of doing it. And the kid's kind of stuck. And the kid wants to do it, and if he doesn't, or the student wants to do it, and if he doesn't have help, he or she doesn't have help from the guidance department, it can be a real problem. So, I think it is something, even that, because at first I paused when I saw that, but I can see that fitting into this module. So I'm hoping to go through the rest, but right now I don't have anything but positive things to think about it.
Thank you for saying, and that is the one module that we talked about perhaps shifting to 11th grade because of the timing of FAFSA.
Yeah.
So that's something we'll look at with our departments. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
Did you want to say?
Any other comments on academic achievement?
We need to go to.
Okay,
skip
so
to
we're
suicide awareness.
going up to 502 now, which
Okay.
is suicide awareness and prevention. This is placed within academic achievement because the piece that we're ultimately going to talk about is the student education part. But I do want to remind us of how we got here and put what we're doing in context. So to refresh our memories, in June 26, 2014, the state PDE passed a law that said in the 2015-16 school year, we would have policies implemented on suicide awareness, prevention, and response. And our policy was passed in March, and we've been working through a series of events to begin to fully implement that policy. The piece I want to talk about tonight is the writing of the student education or curriculum. So what are the requirements for that curriculum? According to Act 71, that curriculum must include protocols for administering the suicide prevention education to staff. That curriculum must be age appropriate, and it must include lessons that are best taught in classrooms. So with that in mind, understand that the policy is a K through 12 policy. So the real question is, what is age appropriate? So for us, we're going to have in K through 5, we're going to have topics taught about social and emotional development of skills, normal development. We're going to talk with kids K through 5 about how to ask for help if they need help, how to recognize that they might need help and then ask for help, and how to be a good friend. But we're not using the word suicide in K through 5. We find that that's a little too strong. So, but in grades K through 12, 6 through 12, we will be using the word suicide, because again, though, age appropriately. So it will be, hopefully less intense in grade 6, and then become more and more age appropriate as we go up through the grades. So we have finally gotten guidance from the state of their model curriculum, and we're taking a look at it. And it helps to have a model curriculum so that you don't reinvent the wheel, but you take what the state suggests and make it fit Pine-Richland. We began that with the school counselors Friday. Our last day was Friday, and the afternoon was in service, so we started developing that curriculum. We're using the curriculum template for the state that, the curriculum template for the district that is used by all other departments, with the idea that ultimately this curriculum, in the same way that other district curriculum will be published in some way, will also be published, and everyone will be able to know what we're doing. The draft was written. Dr. Paxan, Dr. Ramirez, and myself will be looking at that and tweaking it and finalizing it, and we do expect to bring it to the board. I'm not sure whether it's going to be at what board meeting, but definitely the board will be seeing it for your input before we end up doing it in the fall. One final thing I would say is that we did take a crack at presenting some specific suicide information at the middle school for grades 7 and 8 at the very end of the year. And we included the information on the suicide risk factors and warning signs. And the homeroom teachers met with their homerooms during an activity period and had a period to go over that and discuss that and talk about that. So from the feedback we got, it seems to have gone well, but like everything else, we'll try, and then we'll keep tweaking and try again and tweaking. But what I do want to stress is the notion of the age appropriateness, because there are different developmental needs at different ages, and we do not want to be too aggressive with our youngest learners. We have to be careful about what's right for them. Any questions you guys might have? Okay, thank you.
Oh, right.
Buildings and grounds. Denny, can you
Sure.
take that? Or do you want to give it to Dana?
That'll be fine.
Okay.
Let's see. Item 6.01 is the purchase of a replacement maintenance vehicle. Mr. Zhang did submit pictures of the current vehicle that he is looking to trade in. The attachment that is listed is also a price quote through CoStars with a local dealer that we have dealt with before for the purchase of vehicles. This is included in the 2016-17 budget as a capital item. Item 6.02 is the Eden Hall Upper Elementary bus arrival and departure. You may be aware that the township had a few questions regarding the entrance from the Ridge Road area. We did submit some drawings and paperwork to the township, and those will be considered at their next voting meeting, planning meeting, I believe. But we are working with Mr. Engen from VEBH Architects. And item 6.03, we have a combined Buildings and Grounds and Finance Committee meeting scheduled for August 4th at 6 p.m. This is to review and discuss the athletic facilities and field study.
Called 911 due to.
And that is it for Buildings and Grounds.
Student Services, Ms. Johnston.
Item 7.01, we're going to be discussing the topic of drug and alcohol use and the Substance Abuse Administrative Regulation. Keep going. Okay. Item 6.02, we will be discussing the extension of school-based mental health at Eden Hall and the middle school. Item 7.03 is going to be a motion to approve the attached Adelphi Education Services Agreement for the 2016-17 school year. And item 7.04 is a motion to approve the agreement between Pine-Richland School District and Family Services of Western Pennsylvania for the 2016-17 school year.
Thank you, Ms. Johnston. Any other questions on Student Services? Staff Services, Ms. Goble.
Item 8.01 through, I believe it's item 8.10, are all items that will be brought forth at our next voting meeting, which I believe is June 20th, for a motion for approval. And then moving on down to 8.11, our Staff Service Committee meeting was held on May 23rd. We continued to discuss the potential policy and/or administrative regulation development related to transgender youth, privacy, and implications for the school district. We plan to meet again regarding this topic next Monday, June 13th at 6 p.m. here in the boardroom. And hopefully we'll make more progress. So.
Any questions for Ms. Goble? Okay. Operational Services, you want to stay up on this, Ms. Goble, since you're doing such a fine, efficient job?
Yes, okay, well, 9.01 is an information item. I don't know, Sean, were you planning to speak to any of this? Or?
Just if there were any questions, this is a project that's very similar to the one that was conducted last year with the 3 elementary schools extending to the high school, middle school, and Eden Hall.
Okay. And again, 9.02 is the licensing agreement with Microsoft. It's information only, so I don't know if anyone has any questions related to that. It's just moving forward and getting everything updated. 9.03 will be asked again there'll be a motion presented to vote for the Pepsi agreement, food service agreement as well. Actually, that's an information item. Dana, I don't know if you want to speak to 9.04.
Sure. Actually, even to back up to 9.03, just in case anyone has any questions on the Pepsi agreement, I can field those as well. Just as a kind of a brief summary, this is our current Pepsi agreement was a 15-year agreement, and it is nearing expiration on June 30th. We have been working with Pepsi for alternative revenue and trying to come up with another exclusive rights agreement. Mostly this will contribute toward the food service program. We're not changing the timing of vending, but we may be changing some of the items that would be available to students 30 minutes after the instructional school day.
I do have one question.
Sure.
You said this is a 15-year agreement?
No, I'm sorry. The original one that we're under right now is a 15-year agreement. The one that we're looking at, they provide us 3 different options. They gave us a 5, a 7, and a 10, I believe, off the top of my head.
How much is left in our 15-year agreement then?
We're right up at the end. It's going to
Okay,
expire
so
on
15
June
years ago, we made this agreement.
30th. We did. Yes.
All right, now, obviously, none of us here, is there any record of any significant discussion from that meeting that we should be following up on here at the end of it?
No, what occurred with that one, from what I know, I was not here, but I did inherit some of the files when I started. The original 15-year agreement included a $100,000 payment, and it was routed directly toward athletic facilities. Now, at the time, there were no nutritional standards that were pushed toward schools, so there was a lot of soda vending and those types of things. It was available primarily throughout the district, but at multiple vending machines and things like that. And then there were some commission-based vending that occurred in the faculty rooms. So as the landscape obviously has changed for different beverages and soda and regulations, Pepsi has adjusted, we have adjusted. So here we are at the end of that 15-year agreement. We did not feel that a long-term agreement like that made sense. We do believe, though, that with the equipment that they invest in the district, whether that be to support the boosters in the stadium or the vending machines that they do provide in a few of the buildings, primarily those are for water. But what they do also provide, they provide some vending of nutritional beverages, but those are available to the students 30 minutes after the instructional school day, and that's in accordance with state and federal food service laws. We also partner with the food service program, and the juices, the teas, the water, everything kind of runs through food service. So this structure of the vending rebates, commissions, those types of things is very similar to that piece of what we had in the current agreement. It just does not kind of come along with that large upfront payment that occurred many years ago. But that's common for most of those agreements now in this day and age.
And you're recommending the
The 7.
Goldilocks or Baby Bear version in the middle, where
Yes.
we kind of get a little bit less money, but we're not quite as long?
Absolutely, yes.
And the reason is because of that, or any special reason?
Primarily because when we were looking at some of the equipment that they would be bringing in under this agreement, as well as some of the equipment that they're allowing us to maintain here, we were also kind of looking at what's the useful life of some of those vending machines, the freezers, and some of the coolers that are maintained in this stadium area. So this is our recommendation at the time. There is a draft agreement which I have reviewed and provided some information to Mr. Kenny. He is also performing a review of that agreement and is following up with Pepsi as well. I did receive kind of what they call a planogram, and it will show you kind of what the new vending machines would look like with those new beverages available. And that is not attached to board docs because we only just received it this afternoon, so it will be there prior to the voting meeting.
Thank you.
Sure. For item 9.04, this was primarily a discussion item, and it's one of the things that Dr. Miller wanted to address during the board meeting this evening. Considering that we only have a few board members that are here, just to let you know what the topic was, when the food service agreement was approved for the next school year, there was some discussion and some concern from some of the board members as to maybe a follow-up with Sodexo and trying to look at what have we done well, what have we not done well, those types of things. So part of the discussion that I believe we had at the time when the contract was approved was a discussion of could we go out for another RFP if we wanted to. At the time, I was not necessarily aware of what the rules were. I believe that we could, but I knew that there was certain information that we would have to submit back to the state. We did receive some follow-up from them, and they did indicate that we would be able to go out for an RFP if we wanted to. Part of that discussion, though, is because we have partnered with Sodexo for quite some time. We were looking at possibly having Ms. Bucknam present some information regarding some of the things that they've done in the current fiscal year and some of their plans for next fiscal year. If we wanted to make a decision to do an RFP process for this upcoming fiscal year, we would really have to decide, because the process starts in July. It would be our recommendation as administration to not go out for an RFP next year and to work with Sodexo to kind of go through some of the concerns and some of the issues that may have come up, and then there would be some follow-up to that. If we do go down that path, then the RFP process, if it occurred the following summer, would then be for the 2018-2019 fiscal year. But again, that might be something that we may want to follow up with when we have more of the board members here present. And then 9.05 was just a reminder that we have an Operational Services Committee meeting scheduled on June 20th at 6 o'clock, and this is primarily for a presentation for the demographic study.
Thank you, Dana.
You're welcome.
Item 10.01.
I can say that Dr. Miller was going to mention about he really would like to focus on maintaining professional adult student boundaries, policy 824, to hopefully have that created, looked at, and finalized before the start of the school year. Maybe something we will talk about scheduling and stuff.
Okay, that goes to Ms. Goebel, so that's staff services.
Fine if he wants to add that on.
Do you want to have a separate meeting with that, or do you want
I mean, I think we can just add that on. I think it needs
We can,
to be-
it's just,
Well, for now, we can say we're adding it on.
that
and
would
if
have
he
to come
doesn't
first,
want
because
it-
the other rest of it's gonna,
Right.
we'll
Yeah,
never
let's
get
add
to it.
on.
Yeah,
Be refreshing.
so I would put that on for next Monday then? You talking about that?
We could at least touch on it and see what he
Okay.
wants to do with it. Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with it. I
Yeah, I'm
mean,
fine
you're,
with
it's your
that,
committee,
too.
but
Yeah, I'm fine
if
with
it, I understand the urgency of that
Exactly.
policy, but it will have to come, you'll have to precede the other discussion, because the other discussion, I'm sure, will take longer.
Okay.
Do this first.
We'll do this first, and if he needs more time.
You okay
we can
with that,
schedule
Denny?
a separate meeting. Does that sound fair?
Yeah,
Okay. I'm good with that part. Yeah.
okay. Reports. Does anybody from administration have any reports? I have none. Recognition of visitors, 11.02. Anybody wish to approach the board? Thank you for coming. Meeting is adjourned.